the first 90 minutes, these are the things that we are going to actually focus on. We really are hoping that everybody understands the reasoning behind our new messaging, the purpose that we want to have with this new messaging as well. We'll be introducing some new resources that are being made available to you. I am so sorry, I am in a school, so you will hear it on a random basis. I apologize. But we do have new resources that we will be sharing with you all, with the hopes that it's going to help each district just strengthen that family relationship to the school and regain that bridge that we have in between each. We are also so grateful for the opportunities to be able to come together and strategize how we could actually use this new messaging and new implementation that we have. So for the last 30 minutes of our webinar today, we have a very special opportunity. We are giving each district teams the opportunity to stay with us today and do a data drive. We will be sharing with you district level data where you can actually review it, evaluate it, take what you've learned with us today, take what the resources you've gained, and hopefully create new messages that you can take back to your districts and utilize in order to strengthen that relationship you have with your family, strengthen the relationships with the schools, and all the partnerships that you have, so that way we can help our students ace this school year. We know it's definitely been a new school year, and we're learning so many things, and we're just so glad that we have the opportunity to give you some new resources this time. So I believe Rocky has joined us. He is actually going to give you guys a little bit of history of the ACE task force. It's been a pleasure working alongside him during this time. So take it over, Rocky.
Yes, thank you. Welcome, everyone. It's really great to have a good crowd, together, coming from Central Texas region. All of you guys, I know a lot of you, and we're really, unfortunately, it's this late in the school year that we're able to pull this together after everything that we've been through, almost going on a whole calendar year. And I know that we're all kind of like, what's next? But, believe me, we're almost at the end of the school year. We've done some amazing work throughout. We've learned a lot of things. The world began to rethink everything around the world. We began to rethink. But for us, in the work that we do, we suddenly had to zero in on attendance and what we needed to do and to begin with increasing our assets-based thinking when it comes to attendance. So we know how the pandemic. Yeah. So this afternoon, what we hope to do is we hope to again come together, open up some new thoughts, some new asset-based thinking on attendance, and we've got a lot to share with you for the remainder of our webinar today. Just as a reminder, Mrs. School Matters was the former attendance campaign and the task force that convened to look at how to improve attendance in Central Texas region for several years there. Similarly to today's task force, it was a collaboration of many districts in the region. And similarly, we came together alongside the community members to share the best practices related to how to improve attendance on our campuses and decrease chronic absenteeism. Mrs. School Matters was successful in its collective work, and a lot of that is on the website, where you're going to see some of the data over the course of several years that we had been working on this. Was successful, and we knew that this was something that we needed to continue. However, when we relaunched the task force last spring, something called the virus came and drastically changed, everything to where we're new people now. We have new train of thoughts on everything that we thought we knew. Now, all of a sudden, we have to look at it differently. And so we've definitely done a very good job helping our families and helping our students stay engaged and connected up to this point. So when we relaunched the task force, that's what happened. We knew that we had a big challenge. We knew attendance and how we defined attendance would not work and could not look the same. So we decided to take advantage of the crisis to flip the script and focus on what was possible in our attendance efforts rather than what was not possible or what was broken. In other words, we chose to move our work forward with a transformed assets-based approach for working with families and encouraging them to attend school, be connected, engaged, and participating, knowing that there were things as we as educators could do better with more strength-based thinking and efforts. What emerged was the shift from Missing School Matters to Attendance Matters and the exciting ACE messaging, which carries so much potential. The task force worked with E3 Alliance teams to develop resources, free toolkit for schools, inclusive of resources for families, and very cool memes that speak to our students. That led to the brand new attendance website and the creation of a music video that captures the joys and triumphs of ACE in the school year. So, we definitely have an exciting, day before us. And, let's get started. Let's keep moving on this. And so the little bit of the ACE attend, commit, and engage, there's your ACEit, attend, commit, and engage. And the way that we broke it down when we developed this was attend by showing up to remote or on campus. There's that little pandemic, piece that different from what we were normally used to is that remote or on, we have to talk this, we have to change our language. We have to build that common language into it now. Class with feeling of wellness, safety, and belonging. Those were real important keys right there, because along with this challenge that these families had in feeling of wellness, security, and belonging, it's our job to reinforce that, for them. The C, commit by showing dedication to learning with a feeling of that connection again to what is being taught. And the E is engage by showing academic progress with a feeling of self-efficacy and accomplishment. There's those feelings all through, the ACE, and it's our job to promote that with our website and with the video and with the messaging that we're going to be creating moving forward.
Thank you so much, Rocky, for that background information. I mean, so many people have worked so hard to just improve and create this powerful message that we're sharing with everybody today. I am quite excited about this next session of our webinar. So the why portion is the groundwork of everything that we're doing, the shared purpose of improving our relationships with our students and our families, just to positively influence attendance in all aspects of the school life. You guys are, the message is the seed, and we are all the soil that helps this message grow and helps to create this relationship that is going to help drive the connection back to the campuses and encourage our students to just continue to attend and commit and engage in this school year. Oh, if we could switch to the next slide. There it is. So I'd like to start by just letting you all know that we do know that data drives so much of our work that we do. And we are going to be sharing some compelling data points with you from the regional level, just to help you understand how this supports the why of our attendance efforts across Central Texas and why it is so much needed at this time. Here to share with us this wonderful, wonderful information is Rodrigo Lopez with E3 Alliance Research Team.
Thank you, Carrie. So today we will be looking at some attendance data and then seeing, how does this tie in to later outcomes. Specifically here, we'll be looking at high school graduation. So in this chart, we are looking at the class of 2018, and we will be looking at the graduation rate for these students, how many of them graduated on time, based on their attendance patterns in 9th grade. So here in this chart, we see two bars. We see the purple bar, which is showing students for the class of 2018 who in 9th grade missed between 0 and 5 days. They were absent between 0 and 5 days. Whereas the green bar here is looking at those same students in 9th grade who missed more than 20 days. And so we are looking at their graduation rates, or more specifically, how many of them are not graduating on time for these two groups. So I think the thing that's immediately apparent here is for those students who missed more than 20 days, 43% of them did not graduate on time. And then this is comparing to are students who missed between 0 and 5 days in ninth grade. Of those students, only 4% did not graduate on time. So we can see that our students' attendance patterns back in ninth grade tie in here 4 years later or 3 years later into their graduation rate. And so then we can then move on here from high school graduation. Next slide. And then we can look at the economic impact of these students moving past high school graduation. So here in this chart, it's a little more complex, but we're looking at some data over time. And then we're looking baselining in 2007, we're seeing based on the changes in the dropout rates from high school, how much more economic impact can be attributed to these students because of this because of this decrease in the dropout rate from high school. So we have two sets of bars here. We have a set of blue bars, which measures how much additional economic impact has each graduating class since 2007 had, because their dropout rate has decreased since 2007. And then the yellow set of bars is the cumulative sum of these blue bars over time. So we can see that since 2007, because the dropout rate from high school has decreased in Central Texas, we have cumulatively since 2007 recaptured almost $5 billion into the Texas economy. And so we can see this tie-in from attendance in ninth grade through high school graduation and then beyond, and seeing the economic impact. And so, of course, this is only one example of how we can tie in attendance to later outcomes for our students. But this is just what we wanted to share for you today, to kind of give an exposition to these different tying in between outcomes.
Rodrigo, thank you so much for this information. I know just from my role in Pflugerville Independent School District alone and the work that I do, this data drives so many of our resources and our interventions that we utilize throughout the school year. At the beginning of the year, when we're trying to recover students, this data helps drive our interventions. And so we're so grateful for E3 Alliance and you guys working to get us this information every year that we can have it. We really appreciate it. I am quite equally excited to introduce our special guest today. I have the honor of introducing Saul Paul. He is our ACE Attendance Matters Community Change Champion. He is a local Grammy nominated artist who took on the huge challenge of creating an amazing video for us that just complements the new ACE website. He is going to be sharing his story with us today, as well as giving you a backhand side to how he created these wonderful lyrics in the video that he has for us today. So without further ado, Saul Paul, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you. Okay, cool. I'm Saul Paul, artist, speaker, youth advocate. I can't wait till I see y'all. So let me go ahead and go through my slides real quick. This first slide, I just look good in that picture. That's why it's there. All right, boom. Next slide. My connection to this work, really, I'll share a little bit about my story, which is my why, but it all boils down to this organization called the Saul Paul Foundation. I see many folks that I know from the last 15 years of doing this work. Somebody just hit me in the inbox. But yeah, it was previously called Reroute Outreach. A few years ago, we changed the name to the Saul Paul Foundation. Next slide. And for me, this is what it's really all about. It's just really about the young people, right? So that's a good shot of many different students from across the country. I think most of those pictures actually take place right here in the loud music capital, Austin, Texas, and the surrounding area. All right, so you can go ahead and scrap that now so I can see people's faces. If you know me, I'm really from Texas, so I speak casually and with a drawl. But I graduated from UT, so I can do that, speaking Ebonics as well. I'm going to try to talk a little fast. I don't have much time, and I want to get a lot in. So this is how committed I am. I've literally never worn pink in my life. But for whatever reason, you see like all of our amazing E3 folks, right? Like they have the pink backgrounds. You've seen some of the memes and whatnot. So I'm so committed. How committed are you? I went and bought like some pink just so I can be coordinated. Another way that I can prove my commitment. I always have my own background. This is my 438th Zoom since March 13th, 2020. And I always have my background. But because I'm a team player and I'm so passionate about this project, I even use I even use the background I did. So like I'm all in. If nothing else, that proves I'm all in. Why are you all in? What's your why? I'm partly being facetious, but it really goes back to like, what's your why? Why did you do what you do? So let me tell you a little bit more about my why. Let me tell you my story. We'll do a song, we'll play the video, and then we'll keep it going. But I'm so excited to be here. See, and then it's funny when people started to come in, it really started to click, and I just saw the human aspect of it again. And I think many times, like when you work with data, that's why I'm such a fan of E3. So I use this moment to shout out Susan. She's top notch. Tima, Alex, all the other folks at E3. But those specifically because I worked so closely to them. Alex, if y'all ever saw Def Comedy Jam, that might be too young. Y'all all look young, but like there used to be this TV show called Def Comedy Jam, and then like Russell Simmons would come out at the end, and all he would do is like wait and then walk off. But he was really the mastermind behind it all. That's kind of what Alex is. So you don't see Alex, but like Alex was there the whole time. And then Team I, she's awesome. As soon as we met the first time, she said something that really connected with me. It's really the essence of E3, where it's data driven, but yet they get the heart and the human aspect of it. And all the projects that I've worked with them on have always had that heart and the human aspect. But I know as educators that data is key. But like when you can do both, you're ultimately unstoppable. And that's what this campaign is about. So this is really a resource, and I hope that you see it that way. I'm making myself available as a resource. I'm on an ACE tour, so if you're obviously at a school district, whatever it is, hopefully, my challenge to you is to think about how you can utilize not just the website, not just the tools, not just the video, but how you can utilize me as well to like really engage your campus. Your students, which ultimately engages their families and the community because it's deeper. So that's really why I'm here. I just wanted to tell you that. So if you want to get in contact with me, you can find me at saulpaul@saulpaul.com. You should catch that. Like it's my name. It's on my hat.
And so, Paul, this is Team I. I'm sorry to interrupt you since you called me out. I hope you don't mind me chiming in. There's just a little bit of feedback or static when you're talking that we didn't hear before. So I don't know if there's a microphone that maybe needs to be tightened or.
No. Okay, cool. I wonder what part you missed. Was it a lot? Mic check. Did you miss a lot?
No, we can hear you. It's just staticky.
Oh, is it bad in general? Is it still bad?
It's just staticky. I can hear you, but
it's not too distracting. I just didn't know if it was a quick fix, but it's not terribly distracting at all. We can hear you.
It sounds better now.
It sounds better now?
A little bit, yeah.
Sweetness. Well, anyway, here. I'm gonna do a song. How's that sound? Honestly, I just think y'all wanted me to stop talking and sing some music. That was a tacky way to do it. I see right through the smoke. And the kids will too. That's why you shouldn't treat kids like that, right? Like that's what that really was. They just wanted me to like sing. You got a guitar, sing a song. Like I'll get to that. But you know what? How about this? I'm all about creating groups. So I need somebody in the chat. Let me see. Alex, give me a word, sir.
You want me to type it or just tell it to you?
You can tell it to me.
All right. Commit.
Commit. I love it. Let me see who else. I'm gonna pick random people at this moment. Now, if you don't want to get picked, don't look directly at the camera. Also, if you don't want to get picked, like don't look off because then I'll pick you because I can tell you don't want to get picked. All right. So it's like 50-50 chance whether you get got or not. Let me see. Tanisha. Yeah, because you look like you don't want to get picked. Tanisha Butler.
Yes.
What's your word?
Understanding.
Powerful. All right. See, that's why I like to do it. Okay, LBJ. I haven't seen somebody called LBJ in a minute. Who is that? I can't say your name right, so I'm gonna say TT.
Hey, TT is what I get called that a lot. I'm Taryn, and my word would be curious.
All right. So we got curious, understanding, and I forgot Alex's word already. What was it?
Commit.
Commit. Susan, what's your word?
Passion.
Passion. I think those words really represent this group well. We're gonna make up a song. Somebody type those 4 words for me in the chat. I'll come back to it. I was there was a special request for me to share my story, so let me do the 60-second version. I'm an articulate version of the students that you reach and wrangle on the daily. I just happen to be this anomaly that made it. And see, when I was talking about like why my commitment, it's because I'm committed just like you. Like I could be doing, I got nominated for a Grammy and did a bunch of other dope stuff, blah, 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 blah. But like my true heart are the students. Nonetheless, just like you. And it's key to remember your why. Like, I'll be quiet, I'm not gonna say why are we looking at that screen right now. But, maybe I will. Somebody's screen sharing, I don't know if you're doing it on purpose. All right. Somebody, there we go. I told you, 438 Zoom. There's nothing you can throw at me to throw me off, people. You gotta do way better than that. An inadvertent screen share will not do it. All right, check it though. I just didn't want to tell this part of my story over that part. Cause see, look, check it out. My mom died when I was 3. My dad left before I was born. I was in foster care. I grew up in the ghetto in Houston in extreme poverty. I had this potential, but yet I was around a certain culture, so there was this temptation. In elementary, they didn't put my desk in the hallway. In middle school, I was in D-Hall, detention. In high school, ISS, they called it SAC back then. But then that led to me being arrested by the FBI when I was 17. By the time I was 20, I was convicted of 4 felonies and went to the Texas State Penitentiary. It's when I was in the Texas State Penitentiary, I realized that life is the sum total of the choices you make. That's why, even when something's data-driven, the human and the heart aspect of it is so key. So many people tried to reach me, but they didn't. I realized in hindsight, they told me what I needed to know, but they didn't say it in a way where I heard it and understood it. And because of that, I didn't receive it. This is why I've dedicated my life to being a translator. Even though I've ascended and I'm in this different place, it's no different than you. It's like my heart is for these young people. And as long as I can serve as a translator and make sure that they hear the information, then I'll continually stay in this position. That's the role that I ended up playing on this ACE campaign. Once they shared with me what the vision was, it was fun and challenging to say, okay, cool, we're gonna take these 3 key words, like attend, commit, engage, and then create a song that is culturally relevant, that speaks to our target audience. It doesn't feel like it's pandering or speaking down to, or that like here's this ulterior motive. It was like, no, let's just make some good art. But in the midst of that, we've embedded all of the principles and all of the messaging that you will find on the website. That's why it's a resource for you. It's a strategy that is proven quite successful. That's what marketing is. People decide what they want to sell, and then they spend lots of money to figure out how to sell it to people, and then they promote it and people buy it. I've always used that same approach with reaching young people. Like, what do we really want to say? Okay, cool. How do we communicate it in a way so that it's attractive to them and they can receive and understand it? And then how do we present it? And that's what this campaign is. That's why it's a resource for you. That's why I'm making myself available, because you may or may not even connect or even get it, but you're not the target audience unless you're cool like that. You might not be cool like that. Like no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. But nonetheless, your students are. And then you take the resource and you give it to them. All right, cool. We're going to transition, play the video, but I got some words from y'all, so I think I owe you a song. Because I love music. This is what I think about music. I believe music is community. Community is you and me, and you and me is unity. So, together we can make some music. So, before I play the song that I made, it highlights some amazing young people and tells an amazing story, I gonna make up a song using the words that y'all just gave me. And I think, let me see if I can scroll down and see, we got commit, understanding, passion, and something else. All right. Thank you, Yvette. Yvette said I'm here. Oh, she's hearing every other word. I thought you were giving me a good like compliment, like I'm hearing every word. No, she only hears every other word. It's so resilient. That could have been a word. Let's see. Audio is terrible. I agree. Let's see. Turn off original sound. Let me see if that changes. Turn on original sound. How's that? Does it sound any better now? Well, I got to talk on like mic check, mic check. Does it sound any better now? Somebody said yes. Slightly, still static. All right. Let me change devices.
So Paul, we can hear you. It's just a little staticky.
Appreciate it, Alex. This is what you have to do on the daily. This is what you have to do on the daily, isn't it?
Now you got an echo.
Yeah, now you just started a horrible echo.
Now there's two of you and there's an echo.
Is there an echo now? Well, I know there's not an echo now.
Oh no, that's perfect. That's much better.
Oh, wait a minute. He's gonna blame the ACE background on the sound problems?
But can you hear me better now though?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, so check it. Let me use this as a life lesson. This is like being back at a school at a general assembly. Side note, the craziest thing is when somebody's like, so Paul, we want you to speak to the whole school, we want you to perform. We're gonna bring all the entire student body. They put you in the gym and you show up and they're like, so we got a boom box. And they're like, but you had to perform. Like, okay, anyway, you make it happen. So check it. Don't count that against my time though, that minute audio issue. Because T-My runs a tight ship. So thank you for being patient. Since you can hear me better now, here goes a E3 ACEit webinar freestyle. Rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is the time for you to shine. Won't you help me sing? Rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is the time for you to shine, yeah. Life happens, you should do the same. I did it, say, I won't point the blame. I'm resilient, I show love. Even started at the bottom, but I still rose up above. Hey, you can call me Saul Paul or SG. You should ace it. Shout out to E3. This is all family. Yeah, it's kind of crazy now. The world is like insanity. First a pandemic, then they call it COVID. Had a winter storm, I call it snowvent. It's okay, still I survive. Just like these young people, we thrive. I forgot the words, plus I can't sing them. But I won't use the old no museum. I keep it going, but I see Alex smiling. But check it out, I'm so proud, I'm just smiling. Rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is the time for you to shine. Won't you help me sing? Rise, rise, and open your eyes. Now is the time for you to shine, yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, if I could have saw the words, I would have used those, but I do want to make this point though. Like this is a good point. You can have a plan, but then you have to figure out how to make it happen. Like stuff happens, especially for you,
Okay,
you that work with. Yeah, especially for you that work with youth, you that work in schools. I can't imagine what you had to deal with for the last year in the midst of a pandemic. That's why when you have a resource like this, you should utilize it. It'll help you make it happen. At this point, we can either, if we're sticking to the script, I think right now we'll show the video.
Thank you, Saul Paul. All right, I'm going to share my screen and show the video. Thank you so much. The sound, everyone, can you hear the sound?
Hey, what's up, fam?
Hey, Saul Paul.
Hey.
Hey.
Hey, congratulations on graduation. Thank you for the invitation. I had to burn out early, but I'm gonna drop you the Addy and y'all come by the studio because we shoot a music video.
Yeah, I'm down.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
All right, that's what's up. All right, I'll see y'all then. Peace.
Okay, bye.
Peace.
Show up, shine, repeat. Now it's time to dream. Lay on the ground in time to see all of your dreams out in 3D. Life is what you make it, so I choose to make mine great. Toss and ticket, so yeah, you know I can't wait. When my mind right, it's game over, closed case. Like when my eyes set on that rollie with the froze face. Plugged at the chain, so I had the ice to watch out. Know when it's time to work and time to clock out. That's why you treat school like it's a job. Every day show up and go hard. Know what I'm talking about? If you wanna shine, focus in school job. If you want everything to go stop. But I got a simple question for going thought. Will you ever quit? No, cry so. This my moment, I won't waste it. I got one shot and I'ma take it. I know that I was born for greatness. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Oh, give my best and I'ma ace it. Oh, haters hate what they basic. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Oh, life will be just what I make it. That's why I raise quick obstacles that I'm faced with. Haters hate, that's just motivation. Say what you say, I stay elevated. Eyes on the prize, yeah, that's education. Facing my fears with no hesitation. And success, that's the destination. And I won't get sidetracked by things that don't make sense. I won't apologize for my first. For all the world, anything is my best. I'ma represent by the Zoom room. Cradle to career, Tiger Wound and Tomb. This my moment, I won't waste it. I got one shot and I'ma take it. I know that I was born for greatness. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Oh, give my best and I'ma ace it. Oh, haters hate what they basic. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Oh, I'm about that life, you can tell that I'm with it. My action talk, yeah, they yell, I'm committed. Count me in, man, I'm good with attendance. My bounce back is beautiful, I'm resilient. Blaze the trail, yeah, that path I had to pave it. Success don't go on sale, that price you have to pay it. I stayed engaged, now I'm really nothing to play with. Respect the drippin', don't trip at my graduation, cause this my moment, I won't waste it. I got one shot and I'ma take it. I know that I was born for greatness. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Oh, give my best and I'ma ace it. Oh, haters hate what they basic. Like the test and I'ma ace it. Oh, show up, shine, repeat. Now is the time to dream. Stay on your grind in time to see all of your dreams live in 3D.
Wow. Hand claps and snaps for all of that. Saul Paul, thank you so much again. I know for myself and the entire ACE task force, we are truly grateful. It has been a pleasure collaborating with you. The results have been phenomenal. You took everything that we were encouraging about and just turned it into a phenomenal video, and we are so grateful. I sure hope that everyone on the call today enjoyed it as much as we did, as many times as I've seen it. It still always gets me every time. I hope that you all go out today and share this with someone, your whole entire campus, your principals, whoever may not be on this call today. I hope that you are sharing this message with everyone. Next, it is another great honor to just share with you. We have some really great stakeholders here with us today. They're going to sit down at the table and give you their stories about how they were able to ace it during COVID. Today we have Alexia and Allie joining us. They both graduated high school just this past year during COVID and have started their first year in college. So we'd like to take the opportunity to invite them. Alexia and Ali, are you here with us today?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how's it going? Did you guys enjoy that video?
It was really awesome. It was really well done. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, we want to give you guys a few minutes to take the floor. We'd love to hear from you. We're so happy that you're here. Would either one of you like to start and just share your story with us about how you finished out your senior year during COVID?
I can start if you want, or yeah.
No, that sounds good. Go ahead.
So my senior year was mostly asynchronous classes, which I don't recommend because you don't get to connect to your teachers. In fact, I still have like dreams/nightmares where I have to go back and finish my senior year. And in those dreams, I know I've graduated and I know I'm in college, but I still have to be there for some reason. But it's kind of nice because I get to see my teachers that I miss, that I didn't really get to like have what we call a long goodbye for the latter half of my senior year. I didn't do as well as I typically do in school. I did well in some classes, but not so much in others, and I noticed a pattern. The classes that I was doing well in were the classes that were meeting a virtual meeting at least once a week. The classes that I was not doing well in, we never met. It was all through Blend or Canvas, where we turned in assignments. I had no connection to my teacher. I had no connection with my classmates, or if I did, it was like a chat board, and it wasn't no face-to-face, no voice-to-voice connections at all, and that was really struggling for me. I had one teacher who was all asynchronous, but then had an optional meeting at the beginning of the week to go over what was the plan, what was the lesson plans for that week. And I hadn't been going to them because they were optional. And I was like, well, I don't have to go to that. And she reached out and she was like, hey, Allie, I see that you're struggling in my class. That's okay. This is a really hard time. How about we meet one-on-one and go over some strategies? And Miss Owens is and was amazing. She helped me with so many things. She's like, how about try getting dressed every day, try waking up at the same time, schedule like hours of the day that you're going to work on schoolwork and hours for like leisure, and try to stick to that. And that helped me succeed in college. I made it to the dean's list my first semester through COVID, and I have a 4.0 GPA because I'm meeting with my teachers. And Miss Owens was really like, you need to meet with your teachers. And the hardest part is asking for help, but it's going to help you succeed. And so that's what I did this semester. And it helped so much. Teachers engaging with us and connecting to us makes such a big difference. And going to classes, even if it's just once a week, helps you just engage with the material because you're talking with other people and you're engaging with other people and finding their connections and making them your own connections. It was really helpful to have at least virtual meetings throughout the year.
Alexia, maybe you could also help us a little bit with your story, but also how do you think that this ACE messaging resonates with you in thinking back how you went through high school and then now, of course, where you are in your first year in college?
Right. So for me, high school, well, my ending throughout the pandemic and everything, it was pretty difficult and pretty challenging. Like Ali said, I, on the other hand, had no form of connection with my teachers. It was kind of just meeting through Google Classroom. So we would get our assignments there. And it was overwhelming. It was really overwhelming because we were so used to going to class, you know, doing our assignments. And I feel like it took a lot of time management, dedication for sure, and just being responsible with your work and having, like Ali said, getting connected with your teachers was one of the most important things. But I feel like transitioning from high school virtually to transitioning to my first semester in college, it was pretty stressful and overwhelming to begin with, because you don't know all the resources ACC, I guess, has to offer. So it was just rather more navigating through the system, finding a good schedule that works out for me. And like I said, being dedicated, staying with, what's it called? So like attending your professor office hours. I'm always in my professor's office hours, and just getting to talk to them and knowing that I can count on them for support or communication is what's really important to me. And honestly, what has helped me my first semester of college is just having that communication and knowing that I can ask for help, because like Ali said, asking for help is pretty hard sometimes, and sometimes it's kind of like you get shy and you don't want to ask for that help, but you need to ask for help in order to be successful, you know? So staying committed is another really important thing, because if you don't have that commitment, you seem to get off track of your work, you know what I mean? And also being engaged with your teachers, your professors, your schoolwork, and everything around you. I feel like that's what helped me be successful towards the end of my high school semester and my college, or my first semester in college.
That's amazing. That is amazing. You guys are doing great things. And it sounds like the messaging that we're putting out there about ACE is able to resonate even beyond high school, you know, going on and all the different challenges. It sounds like, you know, this message that we're putting out there hopefully can continue to reach more high school students, more elementary school students and families. And so that way they can understand that they can take these, you know, things that you've shared with us today, including this messaging, and move it into college as well.
Yes, definitely.
Well, we are so grateful to have you guys here. Thank you, ladies, so much for taking the time. We hope you stay on a little bit longer with us, but we understand if you do have to go, but we are definitely grateful to have you here. Very inspired by your commitment to being in school, and we wish you so much luck in your first year in college. And we know you're going to ace it if you keep on focusing on what you need to do for yourselves. So
thank you so much.
Thank y'all. Everyone, I am now going to turn it back over to Rocky. He is going to lead us into our second segment. I know we are just a few minutes behind, but we're going to keep moving along. And so here is Rocky with the second part of our webinar, The What.
Thank you, Carrie. Thank you. Yes, we've arrived at the what section, where we will introduce you to the website, resources, and we'll also be able to hear from additional guest speakers about how these resources and the ACE messaging can strengthen our partnership with students and their families. At this point, I'd like to invite our students and families, parents and guardians who have joined us to speak about how they feel this ACE campaign and website resources could help them feel more connected to schools so the students can ACE it.
Rocky, 1 second. Rocky, I'm so sorry. This is Timai. We're actually going to start with the website. We want to share the resources on the website, and then we'll move to the students, parents, and practitioners.
Good. So Casey is going to present the website for us. She'll help us navigate, find all the good that is in that that newly developed website that's going to be very useful for all of us to find a lot of good. So Casey Kai with the E3 Alliance Communications and Engagement team is going to walk us through that website so that we can understand the resources that are available and where to find them. Casey.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rocky. TMI, could you stop sharing? Perfect. Excellent. And then I will share my screen so I can show you all the wonderful. I'm going to share the whole thing. Okay. Can you see my screen? Can you just see, like, Rocky, can you see it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Thank you all so much for coming to our webinar today. I'm really excited to share some of the resources that we have on our website. So the first is, I've seen it come up in chat a few times, ace.e3alliance.org is where all of these great resources live. There's two sections of our site that I really want to draw your attention to. But first, if you want to see that Saul Paul music video again, it's right there on the homepage. So please share that far and wide. The first section that I want to show you is the Why Attendance Matters page of our site. Rodrigo earlier touched on just a couple of points about why attendance matters. We've also created this really big, beautiful poster with some more data, some more of those call outs about why attendance is so important. And I'm delighted to tell you that you will all be receiving an 11:17 poster version of this in both English and Spanish. So look for that coming soon. So this is one option, one way for you to show some of why this attendance matters, why this is so important. The place where I want to spend most of our time, though, is in this resources section. This is the juicy part of what we have. We have options here for our school toolkit. This is all of the resources for y'all. We also have a page for resources for families. And I won't dig too far into that one other than to say it has a top 10 list of great ways to ace the school year, as well as some of the memes that have been talked about just a little bit, which we'll see here in a second. And then thirdly, we also have these COVID-19 and remote learning resources. But where I want to spend the majority of my time is talking to you about our school toolkit. This is the page where you can find all kinds of resources for you and your school staff, as well as some resources that you can share with your families. So the first thing that I want to show you is our social media toolkit. This is an awesome place to go to get some of these memes that we've talked about. Let me just go over to that one. Okay, so our social media toolkit has more information about the Saul Paul music video, as well as some posting tips, how to post some of these to social media. And then we also have just a quick look at all of the memes that we've created around attendance, engagement, and commitment, acing the school year. We've included some really popular faces that I'm sure you've seen a lot of. Baby Yoda is real big right now, so including some of our Baby Yoda in some of these memes. We've also pulled in some Bernie with mittens, personal favorite. These are options for y'all to share within your social media. We have options for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. This is all on this resource, the toolkit page, where you can download that, what I've just shown you, as well as the actual memes in both English and Spanish. Okay, we've also got options and some resources for administration. In each of these, I'll just point out really quickly that in each of these options that I'm about to show you, they have lots of really great stuff, but almost every single resource has a little call out about what ACE is. And then it goes into the deep dive of the tips, the tricks, some of the data that we know is really useful. In every single one of these, it's a Word document, which means that you get to make this your own. So you want to add in some of the district or school language that really makes it like you get to do that. You can edit it. The other thing that I want to call out is every single one of these also has the option for you to add your own school or district logo in. So really recommend that you go in, replace that little image right there with your logo. But this is what every single resource that we have looks like for you. It has lots of really great information. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the actual page. When you download that, that's what you get. You get the Word documents. So we've got options here for administration, how to communicate with families and students. We also have a big call out here on where to get some of this more regionalized data, some of these education trends and outcomes in our attendance dashboard specific to attendance. This is really great information for you to get some of that deeper data that you might be looking for. We also have a link here for free resources that E3 Alliance puts out. The team that puts out this information, phenomenal team, really smart folks who are looking at the data, seeing what's working, and providing free resources for y'all. So absolutely go check this out too. Lots of resources on leadership, effective instruction, special populations, and school culture, and more. Okay, we've got something for attendance staff, tips on family outreach, community agencies on campus, those partners and their role in supporting attendance. We also have school staff for our intervention specialists, people who can go out and create a plan specifically with families and students. Lots of resources there for y'all. We also have a resource guide for teachers. So we've got something for just about everybody, and we've put them in these different categories, but that doesn't mean that you have to be a teacher in order to see that teacher resource guide. Look through all of these. They're really wonderful. Okay, and then we also have resources specifically that we've created that you can share directly with families. And each of those has, they're all Word documents just like the others. We've also created these in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Arabic, and Burmese already pre-translated for you. But they still have the option, if you'd like to edit them to make them your own flavor, you absolutely can. We have attendance tips for families for pre-K and K students, elementary students, and middle and high school students. In addition to that, it's a lot, I know. In addition to that, we also have more information about the ACE commitments, attendance guide for families for both on-campus learning and remote learning, family guides for school attendance specifically in Texas, and then of course, spring break flyers and winter holiday flyers. So that's our big school toolkit. Tons of information here. Really recommend you go and just look through it, click through it, see everything that we have. I'm not going to click on the resources for families link here because we've just got a few more minutes, but I wanted to go and check out our COVID-19 and remote learning page as well. This is a ton of resources that we've cultivated partially through our E3 Alliance teams based on the data of what we're seeing, what we know works, as well as resources from community partners who are putting out really wonderful resources around remote learning and COVID-19. So just a lot of resources here. But the one thing that I want to really point out to y'all, I know some of you have probably already, more about the Road to Recovery webinar. This priority playbook for school leaders is such an amazing resource, y'all. You should absolutely go. Like, if there's any one thing that I can tell you from all of these resources, this is the one that I would recommend to go just look at. It's a 5-part webinar series. It has video, it has resources, you've got downloadables, you've got playbooks, there is so much involved. Again, comes from the data. We know what works. This is where to go. So really great resource here for that road to recovery. And just one last thing, I mentioned earlier, we have an E3 Alliance team putting out amazing free resources specifically around effective instruction, leadership, special populations, and school culture. You can find that information right here too. And when I say, this team is putting out so many free resources. So go check that out too, because it really is phenomenal. It's almost overwhelming at how much great resources that we have available for you. I think that's everything. So what I would like to invite you to do, we're going to take probably just 1 minute. I would love for every single one of you to go to the ace.e3alliance.org website right now. Find a resource, or maybe it's one of the memes, something that really resonated with you, something that looks really interesting. And I want you to share it right now with somebody. Text it to somebody, send an email, put it in social media, whatever it is. Share it with a friend, share it with a partner that you have that you think, man, this Road to Recovery series looks really great. Or my administration might really be interested in, one of the resources in there. Maybe it's one of the memes that's just really fun. I had a ton of fun looking at them, creating them, working with them. Share those too. But just taking like 1 more minute, go share something right now. I'm just going to give you a pause, just let you do that. Thank you again all so much for coming to our ACEit webinar. I am just delighted to be able to share all of these resources for you. Reach out if you have questions. Would love to be able to help share more and support you in the amazing work that you're doing. And now I'm going to kick it back over to Rocky. Rocky?
Yes, thank you, Casey. Thank you. Thank you and the entire communications and community engagement team. Y'all work so hard to create this amazing new website for all of us to use in Central Texas and beyond. And participants, if you have not, absolutely be sure to bookmark this website because, as she explained, there's just so much in there that it's just unbelievable how much information and useful information that you're going to be able to tailor to your to your learning community. So at this time, I want to introduce, now we can get to introducing the students and parents and families. So we have John Jackson III. He's a parent from Round Rock ISD. Hello, John. And we're also going to have a student joining us as well, Keely, who is a student at Hayes and a practitioner from within the school district. Is going to share that we can all get the perspective on the topic. And Patty Wright, Rick, a counselor from Leander ISD. So, let's begin some of the questions that we may have for you, or some information you guys can share with us. Who would like to go ahead and start? For example, why is it important for students to learn with a feeling of wellness, safety, and belonging?
Hello, everyone. Go ahead, Patty. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, safety and belonging, those are basic, needs, right? Psychological needs that, everyone has. And, it's so important that students feel safe in school, that they feel connected in school, that they feel someone cares. Learning is not going to happen if they don't feel that first. So it's like Saul Paul was saying, the message was being given, but he wasn't receiving it because he didn't feel that. And so if our students don't feel that from us, it's a cliche, but they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's 100% true. And in this time that we're in right now, it's more important than ever that our students feel connected to us because of the extreme isolation that they're in. So for us to, make that extra effort to reach out to them, to connect to them, if they are having technology issues, to pick up the phone and call, or, make a home visit if necessary. And so it does require sometimes a Herculean effort, on the part of teachers, administrators, counselors, to make sure that students are feeling connected and safe, and that school is a place that, they want to be so that they can learn.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you, John.
And for me, and I look at this, I take a step back. For myself personally, I have children in high school all the way down to kindergarten. I have 8 children in school. And so this question that we're going over, I posted to all my children from ages 5 all the way to the teenagers. And the answer that kept coming back to me, I just broke it down to one word: relevance, or being able to relate. And to me, you add the R onto the ACEit, you have RACEit. To me, that's when I think about it. As a former, I know your educators, whatever your position is, it's tough. In a tough position, you are the second parent away from home, from a child. And you're dealing with hundreds of kids, thousands of kids every day. And for each children, and just to me, it gets tough, being able to relate the information, whatever you're teaching, whether it's math, the algebraic expression, how is it relevant to my life? Don't tell me about it. How does it affect me? What is my background? Where I'm coming from? If my kids told me the teachers, they do best well and more comfortable with the teachers, I use the word, keep it real. Yeah. When you keep it real with them, understand that you have their best interest. They feel the sense that they're connected to wellness, to safety. All those come together because they know that you truly care about them. If you can't understand where each child is coming from, their background, because they do come from all backgrounds, how can you reach them? You can put any teaching tool out there you want. It don't matter. Unless you understand each child learns and receives differently, understand what their needs are, and that's being able to relate to them, their relevance to them in their life. And so that's one of the big things with the questions. And I can go all day on this topic. I can do a session myself and keep going down. It's keeping it real with our children. And as you keep it real, they understand that you have their best interest, their wellness, because it all intertwines to one. And Mr. Rocky, I'm sorry, you can go on with the next question. I can keep going. Well,
thank you. That's such a genuine treat to have this multitude of rich, variety of voices present, sharing your thoughts and insights on how we can work together to make ACE in the school year more of a reality for all of our students. Thank you so much for sharing that, with us. I'd like to ask one other question here is, how would it help students to learn if they had a feeling of confidence because they knew adults at school were supporting them?
Hi, my name is Keely. As a high school student, I think it's really important that students feel confident that adults are helping them and like backing them up, because personally, like, I've had teachers in the past who I didn't really trust that much, and like it kind of had an effect on the learning environment, and it didn't really help my grades at all, and it was kind of disappointing. But as you go on through high school, you start meeting like different types of teachers. And for me, like my band teacher, he was really welcoming and he was confident with me, and he showed me different ways on how to be more confident. And I knew that I could go to him for help and for more improvement. And then as I've noticed that like teachers like that who help and back up their students, that there's more participation in class, the students have more confidence, so they're willing to ask for help, they're willing to answer questions, and they would actually want to be at school, they would actually want to attend school, and they would want to be excited to learn and be excited to be around like the adults who can help them and be around other students who feel confident.
Good job, Keely. That's great. Thank you very much for that. So can everyone join me in finding the reactions button on your Zoom toolbar and click on the clapping hands emoji so we can give our guests a due round of applause. Awesome work. Thank you very much, Keely, Patty, and John. Great to see you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So at this point, we've got the question and answer session. Depending on, we're running a little bit behind at this point. Carrie and I would like to press the pause button to reset and see what questions in the chat box, or what questions are on top of mind of all of you now. You can see on the screen the information that has been presented and the perspectives that have been shared. We have just a couple of minutes that we can use to answer any questions. Tamara, do we have any questions in the chat box that need to be addressed?
I think we have about maybe 2 to 3 minutes, Rocky.
And Carrie and Rocky, I did not see any questions come from the chat box. If anybody has questions now, we invite you to unmute and please share or ask, and we'll be happy to answer those.
Casey, I just wanted to ask her, Michelle, real quickly. Is it correct that if districts want to brand the materials on the ACE/E3 Alliance website, they can add their own logos or do stuff like that to make it personalized for their districts?
Absolutely. Yeah. Every single one of the resources that you download is a Word document that you can edit. You can put in your own flavor for your school and district, and you can include your school or district logo in every single one of those documents. Yeah, absolutely.
I do have something to add, not as a question, but this is John Jackson. It just, for me, this is my third installment working with the E3 Alliance on these initiatives. And to me, it's very powerful and impactful. I know math was a huge data driver. And for me as a parent, dealing with kids at home, going through the environment, not just that, other friends who kids are going through, college kids, and Alexia, Kaylee, Alexia, and Allie, thank you so much for sharing your story. But these are the things that should drive us. These stories, the data. Anybody know teenagers, anybody learning how to drive? They ask you, why is math important? And I always use the perspective, when you're driving, you have to judge the speed, the velocity. Your brain is running milliseconds or producing a formula in your head to tell you when to pull out, make the left-hand turn or the right-hand turn, when to stop, how far the distance. And that's when I say in relatability. Even the house you want to build, you want these things, but how do you build it? Just geometry. Relating everything, these tools to their life. And even when you're talking about economics, when you're talking about history, whatever class you're talking about, be able to relate to them. How does this impact my life? I mean, I hear it all the time. Man, school was a waste of time, but they didn't teach me this. Well, this one professor told me this, or this one teacher is saying that's the engagement, making want to go and say, you know what? I got Mr. I hear my kid, I got this one teacher, Mr. Fry. I'm going to school that day because I know I'm gonna learn something. Not necessarily the material, but the information they give them related to life. And when we can start relating to the topics or we're teaching our children to their life and experiences and what you have to do on an everyday basis, it gravitates them that much more. And education is power. Everyone may not have to go get a bachelor's or science degree, but the education in which you learn from elementary on through high school is one of the most powerful things you can ever get in life. It takes you to the next level. Just like Saul Paul's story, it was a great story. Even I could myself, choosing not to be a statistic, having educators along the way that kind of push you, give you help, not just because I was finished with their class and aced it, but even when I went on to college to say, hey, are you doing okay? Do you need anything? If you need support, here I go. I always believe educators are the second parents. You spend more time with our children than we do. 9 months, you spend more time with them. You know them better than we do sometimes. And as a parent, it's great to see that you have these initiatives and being able to support whatever we need to do, however we need to do, and bridging that gap that's there between, you know, you have your low income, your middle class, however you want to look at it and drive the data, being able to support and look at it holistically. What can we do to get better? And I just want to thank you for the time, and we're all on the right track to getting there. And I want to thank each one of you for taking the time out and the investment that you make in our children, because you are one of the fundamentals. Without you educators, we won't have what we have as a society. And just thank you for your time that you do impact each one of us.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John, for that. Sharing that with us. Wonderful. Now, Lauren or Tom, is there any more questions in the chat box that we can address? You know, at this point, we're going to move into our third section, the how, to see how we can take action inspired from the data, from the website, and from the voices heard. So, Carrie, can you kind of guide us through this portion of it?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Rocky. I know so many of you on here are probably flowing with so many ideas now regarding just the practical piece of this work. How do we take the information that we've been provided today, the resources that have been shared with us today that are here to make a positive change to better support our students and our families? So in this last section of our webinar, I'd like to walk you through some of the recommendations that the ACE task force actually co-constructed together with E3 Alliance. You will have some time for breakout groups with others, other colleagues in your role or your position. And that way you guys can come together and brainstorm some strategies and ideas. So as you can see here on the screen, we have 4 priority areas. There was a point where E3 Alliance actually examined attendance issues and initiated the root causes of analysis, where factors were identified that prevented students from attending and engaging in schools. They met together and with the success throughout the region. Rocky and I had the opportunity with a few others to actually review these factors, and we were able to go through them and modify them down to come up with these 4 areas. So once we kind of went through the information and got it down to these 4 categories, we determined that based on our work context within our specific attendance roles, we really needed to focus on the first 2 areas, family culture and environment, and school culture and climate. It was very clear to us that by focusing on these 2 areas is where we needed to provide more strategies to how to bridge them together. Essentially, we knew that a targeted assets-based approach was needed to improve in how we can engage and commit our students and families in the same way that we expect them to attend and commit and engage in school every day. We truly see that the partnership was needed. So When we say acid-based or strength-based approaches here, we refer to the elements that you're looking at on the side of this table. We want to remain focused on what is possible when it comes to improving attendance and helping kids continue to improve and ace their school year. We chose not to linger on what was broken, but what was possible. With that, to say that the work ahead will be easy is definitely far from. We trust that, we know that finding families and locating students and constantly working together to engage them back into our campuses is definitely going to be a work, but it's definitely one that we are worth taking the risk for. Our students are a valuable asset to our community, to our campuses, and we want to make sure that we are doing what we can to support them. When we share the recommendations shortly with you, the task force generated, we polished it out to 8 major categories. We hope you will see that our intent was indeed to be asset-based in our approach. Okay, so now here we are. We'd like to move you all into the roles alike breakout groups so that you can review the recommendations and ideate the possible strategies or even solutions that you have discovered in your own work in your respectful districts. We will take the opportunity now to place the link in the chat box. So feel free to go ahead and move to open that at this time. And then we will.
Thank you, Carrie.
Yeah, it would take about approximately 10 minutes, I believe we still have.
Yes, Karen, and actually it might be just a little bit under 10 minutes so we can get back on schedule here. But
yes,
I do want to reiterate, if everybody will go ahead and grab the link that's in the chat box, that will take you to the recommendations document. And again, those were co-constructed with the task force. And so we'd really love your thoughts and feedback on that. But what we really love you to do too, when you get into your breakout groups, is you obviously want to spend some time introducing each other, because I think this cross-collaboration, cross-district collaboration is pretty unique and rare. And then spend some time quietly looking at the recommendations. And that 5 minutes you see on the screen is probably going to be more like 3 minutes. And we don't expect you to be able to give us all the solutions and answers, but if maybe you can just target one of the 8 main areas that resonate with you and see if you can come up with a solution or a strategy that relates to the work that you're already doing and connects to the learning that you received here today through the ACE website and through the perspectives of our guest speakers. So with that said, I'm going to open the breakout rooms, and I did pre-assign everybody that had registered into the breakout groups. If you were not pre-assigned, that's probably because you registered before this webinar, but that's okay. Hang out with us in the main room and we'll make sure we get you assigned. We'll bring you back into the main room at about 2:25 and then we'll wrap up the webinar portion. So I'm going to open up the breakout rooms, and what you'll see is a join breakout room box. And then whenever you see that, just go ahead and click join. And hopefully this is where I cross my fingers and pray that it works beautifully. But yes, we can go ahead and begin. So before we leave this section, I do want to thank everybody for joining the breakout rooms and participating. Yes, I agree, that was not a lot of time at all, but I hope you enjoyed at least a little bit of space to be able to share some reactions and thoughts that have emerged for you as a result of all this information we've shared the last hour and a half. And I do want to just ask if I can just pick on one volunteer, or maybe if I can volunteer somebody to just share what were some reactions or things that emerged in your conversations with your role like colleagues. I know we had assistant principals get together, we had teachers, we had, of course, our attendance staff. Can one volunteer just share out what group they were in and just an insight that will help us move into the next section? Don't be shy.
I'll go.
Okay.
I don't know if you can hear me. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm with Maynard ISD. I'm with prevention and dropout and attendance. So I truancy officer, and I had the privilege of being in a group with, please don't be mad at me, I cannot remember everyone's names, but it was 3 other young ladies in the group, and one did ESL and the other 2 did truancy. And first I have to say, I thought I had a lot on my plate, but one has 8 schools and a lot of other responsibilities. But we were talking about how Zoom court is now being an issue, and how sometimes it's just the quick, oh, we can't connect so nothing happens. But in doing home visits, I was asking, what's a tool or something that you utilize that might work well? And I cannot remember her name, and I'm so sorry. She was mentioning that even though, we're not educators, but showing the parents and the students themselves how to log on, how to take attendance, because some of them don't know. And I know you do hear parents say, oh, my child is attending every day, and they're under the impression. But I think also showing the parents how to log on, because I found that some of the kids are tricking their parents and saying, oh, I'm logged on, I can't get on. And but also being able to teach the student how to properly log on. And then it kind of alleviates the issue of not attending, even though the intention is there. But that was ingenious, just being able to take the time to show them. And I think that it makes it more relevant. Just getting them engaged and showing them that, hey, by being on, it's going to be fun, but you have to get on first. So I think that that was actually one of the things, because we didn't have long to talk. So we got cut off in the middle of our last portion, but they definitely were sharing good points in that aspect. So
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that the task force helped us come up with that one category as part of the recommendations about home visits, and really revitalizing those home visits in a way that takes it to a whole new level to respond to the current reality. So thank you for sharing that. All right, so with that said, we are going to move into our closing slides right now. We're going to move into that by just asking you again to really think about how you can commit to helping us share the resources that you learned in this webinar, not just in the short term immediate like Casey did with you, where she asked you to share that resource right away, but how can you in the long term help us really take advantage of this website and all the time and effort that the task force put into creating these recommendations and resources, and really disseminate that so that we all can take advantage of this and really get behind and rally around this messaging around ACE, Attend, Commit, Engage, and what we can do as educators to really make it possible for our students to be able to do that in the way that you heard them describe today for them to be successful. And then over here, we're just going to circle back quickly to the objectives. We think that we were able to help and help you understand the why behind the impetus behind this message in this campaign, and why it was so important for us to not really just see this pandemic as a crisis around attendance, but an opportunity to really transform how we see attendance and what we can do in terms of looking at our current policies and practices to make the systems more amenable to a stronger partnership between schools and families. You're familiar with the resources. If you have not already bookmarked that website, ace.e3alliance.org, please make sure you do too, so you can go and refer to it as needed. And then of course, hopefully you're able to come up with at least some ideas or solutions around how we can use those recommendations and apply them. But that is something that we're going to be doing with our task force when we meet again in May for sure. We definitely always want to keep those recommendations at the forefront of our work. And then lastly, we want to invite anybody that is on this call that is in a district that is not already serving on the task force. Please make sure that you put your name or email in the chat box if you want me to add you to our roster. We'd love to invite you to be a part of the task force. Right now, we have 9 districts that are participating. We know we've got 13 districts represented on this call, so not to call anybody out specifically, but we always are welcome to more representation and more folks with whom we can collaborate. And then lastly, we have a survey. We'd love to get your feedback. So if you don't mind just taking a moment to either grab that QR code with your scanner on your phone, or if you want to go to menti.com and then type in that code right there. You can ask Lauren to put the link to the Menti survey in the chat box as well. It will take a minute to complete that survey. I promise it won't take you long at all. It's just three to four quick questions on there for you, so we can really capture your feedback on the webinar. And if there were any other topics that you needed to address, we can definitely make sure we try to do that as we move into the work with our task force in May. And I'll give you a second to grab that code off the Menti screen there. And as you are finishing up, I'm going to go back to the slide, but as you're finishing up, we actually want to stop sharing my screen because I want to see all the faces here. All right, great. And so just to let you know, this concludes the actual webinar portion, but I know several of you, I want to say close to 80 of you, have volunteered to stay for the optional district team time. At that time, you're actually going to hear from Rodrigo again, our research associate, who's going to share with you an example of a district data sheet that is already located in your Google folder. And Lauren, would you mind go ahead and pop that link into the chat box as well, the link to the attendance data folders, So last night, everybody was given access to their data folder. So you should be able to see yours there and you should be able to access that. But before we actually ask you to go into your data folders, we are going to hear from Rodrigo, and he's going to share with you a couple of slides so he can orient you to the data that you're going to see and then give you some instructions on how to interpret it. And then we're going to go back into different breakout groups. This time, instead of being role-alike, they're going to be district specific. But here's the catch. We hope that you did upgrade your Zoom account, because to do this breakout session, you'll have to choose the district, choose the breakout group you're going to go into. Otherwise, we'll have to manually assign you, and that would take just a little bit longer, but we hope everybody has done that upgrade. So with that said, I'm going to go back to my slide here and just revisit the objectives for our optional team time. So we're all on the same page. And everyone else, once you complete the survey, if you're not staying for the optional team time, thank you so much for your attention and your engagement during the webinar portion. Again, we couldn't thank you enough for your support of this new messaging and campaign, Attendance Matters, ACEit. We want to thank all the guest speakers who were here on the call with us. Saul Paul, definitely, we're so inspired by your enthusiasm and your passion and the message that you share through your music. And of course, our guest speakers who were here, our students, parents, and our practitioners. So at this time, we can release anyone that's not going to stay for the optional team time. And then those that are staying, while I have these slides up, feel free to use this time to stand up, do a little stretch break, and we've got just another 25 minutes or so together. All right, so with that said, on your screen, you see the objectives right here. Again, Rodrigo's going to review the attendance data, give you an example, and help you interpret it, and then we'll put you in your district-specific breakouts. So with that said, oh, I forgot I had the slide here. This is a beautiful slide. So as you know, if those of y'all who have been working with eFru for a while know that we love our data. We have a very data-driven approach that we use. And the beauty behind the data is that it tells a story. It gives us some knowledge about the work that we're doing, but we really rely on our practitioners. That's you guys that are working in the districts to help us tell the whole story, to help us co-construct what knowledge we can glean from those data points, and then ultimately what action steps are needed to be able to impact and see that systems change that we know is needed to better serve our students and families. And so I love this slide for its simplicity. It really does tell the story, and it describes what we're going to do in the next few minutes. All right, now with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Rodrigo.
All right, thank you, Timai. So a couple of notes here first. In each of your district folders, you'll find a couple of, you'll find 3 documents. So one of them will be an instructions and definitions document. So that'll just have some info about the data that's in your data sheets. And then you'll have 2 data sheets, one for Central Texas, so it's a regional data sheet. And then you'll have a second data sheet, which is your district-specific data. And so in those data sheets, the data that is shown is for chronic absence, which we define as being in attendance for 90% or less of the days that a student was enrolled. So alternatively, you can think of it as being absent for 10% or more of the days that the student was enrolled. And so then in the next slide, I'll show you an example of the charts that you'll see in your data sheets. And so this chart here is for Central Texas. This is one of the ones that you'll find in the regional data sheet. But here we're looking at chronic absence, and then it's disaggregated by income, race, ethnicity, and then gender. So you can see we'll have 16 groups here. On the horizontal axis, we're looking at the percent of students for each, or the percent of students who were chronically absent. And again, this is Central Texas overall. In your data sheet, you will find 4 of these charts. There will be one overall for your district, and then one for elementary, middle, and high schools in your district. Similar for the region data sheet, you'll have Central Texas overall, and then Central Texas elementary, middle, and high schools. And so in this chart, because it is disaggregated by income, race, ethnicity, and gender, you can make several comparisons here. For example, you could look at the green bars, which are low income, students from low income households. You could compare within these, or within this group, you could look across either race, ethnicity, or across gender. Similarly, for the non-low income group, the students that are from non-low income households. You can also look across these two groups. So for example, you could look at how do the chronic absence rates compare between, maybe I want to look at our Hispanic males, both non-low income and low income. Maybe I want to look at our our females in general, non-low income across low income. So it really allows you to dig in and see those comparisons between these different student groups. So again, like I said, in your data sheets, you will have 4 of these charts overall for your district, and then elementary, middle, high for your district. Similarly for the region level data sheet.
Thank you so much, Rodrigo. Before we actually move into the breakout sessions, and I'm actually going to just stop sharing screen here because I think it'll be easier to see everybody's faces that are still on the call. Does anybody have any questions about what Rodrigo just explained in terms of the data that you're going to see or should already see in your folders? And if you do, feel free to unmute. All right, thank you, Lauren, so much for posting that link again. So as I said, that link takes you to a main attendance folder, but then within that folder, you'll see your own folder for your district. So if you open that up, you should have access to be able to see that. And if for some reason you don't have access, just click on request access. That'll send me an email and I'll be sure to give you access so that you can see that. And really what we like for you to do in just this next 15 minutes is to be able to just to work with your teams and look at your district specific data, process, reflect on what it is that you see, and then think holistically based on what you learned today from the webinar, based on what you saw on the resources on the website, what you heard from families, what you heard from the students and the parents today, and the recommendations that you also have access to, all of those pieces flying together and coming together. What are some initial action steps that maybe you can engage in to commit to helping us move forward with this ACE campaign and ACE messaging so that we are really being cognizant about what are those strategies and things that we can really take back and implement in our own respective districts so that we can't just place the expectations on students to attend, commit, engage, but we're doing what is possible for them to be able to do so. And so with that said, if we have any community folks on the call, there is a room that we're going to create called Open Room Collab. So if you want to join that room, you're more than welcome to. We have the regional district data in there for you to look at. If we have any friends from our charter schools, you're welcome to go into the charter schools breakout room and then look at the regional data. And then all our district friends have their own district data. So let's see, I'm going to scan the chat box real quick and see if there's any questions or anything that come up. Let's see here. All right. Okay, I think we're good. All right. So Lauren, did you already open the breakout groups?
I did, so they should be able to choose.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, great. So as soon as you see, as soon as you, well, actually, since they have to choose, I think they actually have to click on breakout group. So let's go ahead and advise everybody to do that. If you look on the bottom of your Zoom screen, you should see a breakout room option. If you've done the upgrade, and then you just choose your district. And at this point, are we able to remove the spotlight? That way we can just see the thumbnails of all the folks in the room and see who we need to move into a room. Okay, all right. It looks like everybody is coming back into the main room. So that was a little bit more time than you guys got in the first breakout. So hopefully you're able to have a longer conversation this time and we're able to look at the data. So the last few minutes as we wrap up the webinar and the optional team time, I just wanted to take 2 minutes to see and invite any districts that want to just share. What did you guys discover in your district data when you're looking at, in particular, elementary, middle, and high school, that breakdown? Were there any aha moments, any insights that you shared that you dialogued with your team and that led to any kind of particular action step that you wanted to take forth? Feel free to unmute and share. And let us know also what district you're from.
So I'm Andrea Easley. I'm from Pflugerville ISD. And you cut us off pretty quick. I have not seen the data. We're having some issues, so we all didn't get to see the data. But one thing that we talked about just right before we got cut off, one of our APs was saying, some of our little subdivisions or apartment complexes where we have community centers, those are good places to host small events for, you know, community involvement or parent involvement, educating the parents and the kids on how to log in, or what to do when you're, or how to get counted present. Because a lot of times our kids are saying, I did log in, and they may have and they may have not, and they're not sure, and parents are not sure how they are really truly able to get counted present. I think initially when you start doing that, you start with the smaller neighborhoods. Some of our trailer park subdivisions or divisions that we have the trailer parks in, and then on the ones that the homes that are close, they can also go to, you know, those areas to receive that same information. It can be open, and I think that's a great idea. It's just something that we really need to plan more for. We've talked about it a lot. And then things happen and we don't get to it, but I think it would be helpful. It also kind of helps parents not to have to feel intimidated as far as going into a school and going to a building that, okay, I'm still kind of at home. I'm just walking up the street to my community clubhouse or something. I feel a little bit more comfortable in receiving information.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Andrea, for sharing that. And I apologize for having to cut you off. I know Pflugerville's internet was going in and out, so I wasn't sure how much time you guys had to chat, but I do love that idea, and I agree with you. I think being able to take advantage of the resources that are within the community to provide that sense of comfort for families to be able to come and get that information. It's a great idea. Thank you so much, Pflugerville. Is there another district that wants to share before we wrap up with our last piece of information? Okay, so hopefully you were able to at least look at the data and engage in some preliminary conversations how you can take this forward. So my last plug then, before we end the webinar, would be to share that the task force has our next meeting. It's on Wednesday, May 12th. That's Wednesday, May 12th. We generally meet for 2 hours. It's in the morning from 9:30 to 11:30. And so as I said before, if your district is already not represented on the task force, we would love to have you. If you want to be added to the roster, please just put your email address in the chat box before you leave, and I'll be happy to add you to the roster, and then make sure that you get the calendar invite for May 12th. During that time, we're actually going to revisit the recommendations some more. We're going to hear from Austin ISD present on what they do around attendance to better communicate and engage with their families. And then we'll be able to access the campus level data to get into a little bit more specifics on the data within your district. And so Bertha, I don't know if you're on the call still, Bertha from Austin, are you still with us? Do you have any little bit to share about your presentation in May?
I think she just stepped out, Timai.
Okay, my timing is horrible. Well, that's okay, because I know everybody's looking at the clock like I am, and it says 3:01, and I promised you that we would wrap up by 3 o'clock. So thank you again so much for your attention during the webinar. Thank you for taking the time to stay after and then hear about the data and work in your teams to see how we can collectively move together and really rally around this campaign and messaging. So again, if you haven't bookmarked that website, ace.e3alliance.org, is where you can find all those resources. And as I popped into one of the breakout groups, one of the ladies in there said, are you sure we can use these resources? Do we need an MOU with E3 to use them? So I'm going to say no. All those resources are free. They're there for you to take. Anything that you see, it's a Word document, put your logo on it, put your stamp on it, and then use it to best suit your and best address the needs of your community. So that said, can everybody just unmute so I can hear everyone's voices at least, and we can wish each other a happy rest of the week. Tomorrow's Friday, you guys. Thank you all so much. I'll send a follow-up email.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was recorded so we can share with the rest of our teams.
Thank you.
Thank you. What's up, Thanks, Rocky? everyone. Thank y'all for being here.
Gracias.
Mr. Dillion.
Bye.
Hi,
Thank y'all.
Tengo hambre.
That's good. So I think we're sitting here with nobody having to change their